there's literally not a single face on the page. It's like a generic bunch of paragraphs,
Totally.
No photos and no names. And you're like, I have no idea who is behind this company. And it's a service company.
Yep.
You're like, what?
Noah and James from Twin Creek Media. Today we're going to talk about what's in a face. Should you add your face to your marketing and or your brand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we're talking about 4 points here. We have building trust. Does it help? But standing out and how you differentiate yourself between your competitors, and aligning with your brand. And the last one is consistency. So, and that's a stickler. That's going to be an interesting one because it's not what you think when we say consistency. So, but in the first thing is, and this is probably just basic human nature. It doesn't need even explaining or talking about. But adding a face to your company, adding a face to your brand, like we're doing right here, basically with talking to you face to face a little bit, is about establishing trust, because we're just saying stuff as it is. You're hearing us. You're seeing examples. You're seeing what we do, what we our knowledge base, our experience. If there was absolutely a black curtain dropped down across your company, so it's nameless, faceless, anonymous. It could be run by one person in their basement, or your company could be 1,000 people, but they happen to all be overseas. Or it's just so lack of trust building. Like the opposite of having a face on your brand is having absolutely no face and no people and no names. Mm-hmm. And you're so anonymous that you're like, is it even a legit company?
Right.
Have you run across that when you're dealing with some companies? You're trying to like, who's behind it?
Well, I think it really depends on the company too. I think realtors know this best, obviously. Like they're selling themselves.
Yep.
So that's what they do. They put their face on everything because it's important.
They have their flag, which is their realtor brand, right? They're working for Remax or Century 21 or whatever it is, but it's them, isn't it?
Yep.
Like they are their business.
Yep.
Same as solopreneurs. Are people involved in public speaking, industry experts on a certain topic. I mean, you are your brand.
For sure.
I mean, but what if you have, I don't know, just a different brand, like a company where there's 50 people, there's 5 people, or there's 50 people, there's 500 people. What about those cases?
Well, yeah, I mean, when you are running a large company and you have a board and you're potentially a publicly traded company, there's a different persona that you need to embody. And your role could evaporate at any moment. So putting a face to that brand might actually hurt it in the long run if the board decides to vote you out, or if you leave the company and then they're left without that face. So a great example, right, would be, let's say Elon Musk is Tesla, right? And his face is synonymous with that. But if his board ever shifts, or if they ultimately decide to remove him, you don't want.
That's good. You're playing devil's advocate. No, that's a really, really strong example of why you don't want your face on your brand. Mm-hmm. If you capitalize on that, on the positives, for too long and too many times, how are you going to exit? How are you going to sell that business? How are you going to move on, do something else, when you and the brand are you equals the brand, or the brand equals you? Like that's actually a risk and a strength. For sure. There's double-edged knife there for sure. And
we are under a lot more scrutiny too.
Yeah.
So as individuals, should anything arise where you get in trouble with the public, that's going to damage the brand. And so board will not want that. They won't want your face synonymous with the brand, because you may be playing it fast and loose with your morals.
Yeah. That's true.
Those are the downsides.
Yeah.
All the positive sides would be, all this building trust and standing out, and your face is your face and only you can own that. And if you're selling yourself or a local product or service, it's very important to put a face to that. So
Yep. I mean, because it establishes trust, and it does help you stand out versus companies that aren't putting a face on the brand. So that helps as well. It really goes in. Those 2 points are almost like part of the same sandwich. And aligning with your brand, this is usually the case, but I've come across brands that have a spokesperson or the face of the brand actually is a little strange. It's like, oh, that's a weird angle to take.
Totally.
Because they're standing out, but they're also polarizing their alignment, I guess you could say. So they only align with this part of the population. It's like, but maybe they, what's the word? Disalign, unalign? Misalign. Good one. I got 2 out of 0. So they misalign with the other. But what if there's a big part of the population that were their customers? The face of the business misaligns with them, and then they go, oh, maybe this isn't the company for me. Maybe I should work with somebody else or buy from somebody else. I've come across that a few times. But having the face on the brand, you are inherently putting the style and the voice and the face and the personality and everything. It fuses together with that person, doesn't it? And they better be on brand. I don't know. Any kind of comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, and I think your personal character comes into play a lot of the time. So if it is your brand and your baby and something you've built and something you own and you live and breathe the brand, I think it's very important to show people that.
Yeah.
I think what we've done is a really good job with Fresh Air. I mean, they're a great client with a great brand persona, and their spokesperson is bang on. He lives and breathes the brand, and he's just so perfect. The perfect embodiment of building trust and localization.
And he's one of the owners, right? So he's going to be there for a while, and that's important. So he also they actually have they have a couple different faces of the business, and they all do a really good job. And they bring out different aspects in different parts of the brand message, and sometimes it's girls, sometimes it's guys, and they kind of trade around with that face. But it's really a cool example.
For sure.
So consistency, I mean, you touched on it a little bit before, but the last point is consistency, and it is, if you are going to put your flag in the sand and say, here I am, my name is James, Noah, and you're going to be putting yourself out there, and you do it 5 times, and then you disappear off the face of the earth, you're hurting your brand by doing that. So you're better off not even starting. So consistency is just about, once you start, you have to keep going. You have to keep it going. And that's kind of like a lot of advertising and marketing, repetition, and over time the longevity itself builds trust and builds reputation. So that's kind of the 4 points there about adding. There's definitely some pros and cons. You have to give it some deep thought. There's so many pros, but there are some risks there as well. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think if you are a service-based business, I think putting a face to your company is probably worth any risk that it might outweigh. If you offer any services, it's personal, it's one-on-one. People want to see your face, they want to hear from you, and it adds so much credibility. I think if you start to drift into other categories, then you got to weigh your pros and cons. But the pros far outweigh the cons when you're a service-based business. Add your face there.
And I would add on, if you're a service-based business, it's not just about adding a face. It's about adding faces. I think people want to know who they're doing business with, who they're who's on the other side, and having all your people out in the open with their bios and their profiles and their LinkedIn pages and their phone numbers and their extensions and their email addresses. Yeah, it's totally transparent, but people love that. Getting back to like what's important on a website. This is a little bit off topic, but it relates into this. We see one of the most popular pages of any website, and these are companies at all different sizes, small and big, unless they're mega corporations. Anyone that's mid-sized company, say 100 employees or less than that. The About page, the team page, our company page, super popular. Mm-hmm. Like it's like the second or third most visited page of the website. Mm-hmm. And if you go to our people, our team or company or About, and I've done this so many times, and there's literally not a single face on the page. It's like a generic bunch of paragraphs, totally. No photos and no names, and you're like, I have no idea who is behind this company, and it's a service company.
Yep.
You're like, what? It's almost an instant for me. It's like an instant bounce. Like, yep. I was like, nah, there's got to be a better company than this.
Yep.
I want to know who's totally. Who, right? Simple as that.
Studies have shown that using a human face in social media posts can significantly increase engagement and reach. And I agree with that, because every time we post in social, if I got a face on there, it's getting far more engagement. And you see that in every stat that we do. When we A/B test any of our creative, anything with a human face in it is just getting more engagement on social.
Yeah, that's right. And the same thing happens on people's websites. It turns into sales. So there's another study that was done that a face versus not a face in the ad. The one with a face had a 10% higher conversion rate, which turned into revenue, bottom line. It was either a sale or a sign up, right? So, I mean, faces are important. A bonus topic, and this came to me out of the blue, and I'm pretty excited to talk about it. Animal faces.
I have no comment on that.
So, but very, very similar. So again, like studies have shown that brands that are using animals, because we have such a connection with animals, especially ones that we know really well, dogs and cats, some farm animals perhaps, but dogs and cats very specifically, like the cute ones, and or the ones that are protective, or there's all sorts of brands using all sorts of animals.
Yeah. TELUS is the first one that comes to mind.
TELUS uses always like a quirky animal, right? Like a lizard or a parrot, or I've seen them use cows and donkeys. Totally. They use an alpaca the other day. I saw
because they've gone through all the other animals. They have to get super cool.
So they're really, really cool animals. Yeah. And then big brands like Geico in the U.S., the insurance company, they have the lizard, right? The Geico lizard.
The gecko.
Yeah, a gecko, sorry. Yeah. Makes sense. And there's Tony the Tiger, the Frosted Flakes.
Yep.
Right?
Great.
So he's cool. And there's all sorts of ones in children's products and,
for sure.
and stuff like that.
That's why you can't place it on cannabis. No cannabis brand can have an animal or a face or a human face.
What?
It appeals to children.
Oh.
Yeah. You can't have it.
They can't have a human face either?
No. Not in any of your cannabis advertising.
Okay. So no human face, no animal face.
Yep.
Wow. I didn't know that.
On branding or packaging or anywhere near it.
Yeah. So hope that's some food for thought, and putting some faces to names.
Totally.
And all that. But definitely give some thought, pros and cons, weigh it out for yourself in your own company, and take action. So, and if you need help, we're here.
This face is James.
And this face is Noah. You served up your own face on a platter.
This is it. These are our faces. Enjoy them or don't.